Hello guys, welcome to my channel WebJR of Talents. I hope you're excited for this video and even I'm too excited. So without further delay, let's get into a topic. So today we are going to talk about the English subject of class 9 and we'll look at the chapter The Fun They Had. So I have already explained you this chapter and I have also given the summary of the chapter. If you hadn't watched it, don't worry. The link is in the description box. Watch it right now. So today we look at some important questions in this chapter. So already we have seen the MCQs or the objective type questions which are very important and I explained each of them. So today in this video we're going to look at some subjective questions such as 2, 3 and 5 mark questions. So let's get into it. So here comes our first question. Let's see what is the question. So the question is, how was the book that Tommy found different from his own books? So these types of questions we should read it for at least 2 times to get a better understanding of the question. So let's read it for the second time. How was the book that Tommy found different from his own books? So we have seen in the chapter that Tommy finds a book which is made up of papers and was crinkly, and he had brought it to Maggie to show her as she was a friend. So they both were truly astonished or surprised to see the book, the real book made up of papers which we mostly read in the future. So the story was set in 2150s, right? So in that time they used to have ebooks or telebooks that we have known from the chapter. So they were surprised to see these types of books because they hadn't seen it before because they were using ebooks. This is the knowledge which we have from the chapter reading. So now we'll try to look at the perfect answer. So this should be our answer to get a full mark. So it says that the book that Tommy found was an old real book. First we shall discuss about this line and then we shall continue. So we have read in the chapter that, and we have also discussed it before, that Tommy found an old real book. So let's continue to read, which belonged to his grandfather's grandfather. We can't imagine the time, right? Our grandfather's grandfather might be great-great-grandfather. So we have already known the information till here before from the chapter reading. So this is how we can represent it in a perfect form. So let's see the next sentence. This is the first sentence. The second sentence. It had crinkly yellow pages, whereas Tommy's books were telebooks, were taught by mechanical teachers and computers. So when we have discussed it, we know, and I have also said you, that telebooks were used by Tommy and Maggie. And we have also read it in the lesson a quiet times. So it's all from the textbook and the information which we already know. So this was a pretty simple question. Let's try to move on to the next question. So this is our second question. So as well as we'll read this question twice to get a grip on this question and understand it properly. So what this question says to us is, what kind of book did Tommy show to Maggie? Yeah, we have seen in this chapter that Maggie was shown a book by Tommy. So he is asking, the question is about what type of book was it? So, what kind of book did Tommy show to Maggie? This is quite a simple question. So, let's move to the answer. Perfect answer. Because it's quite easy, no need of much discussion about it. So, here the perfect answer is the book that Tommy showed to Maggie was an old real book which belonged to his grandfather's grandfather. It had crinkly pages where all the stories were printed on paper and words stood still. I read very fast. So, even the answers should have to be read at least twice to get a proper knowledge about the answer. So, let's look at the answer again. The book that Tommy showed to Maggie was an old real book which belonged to his grandfather's grandfather. Yeah, we have seen in the previous question, this first line is as it is. It's same. So, it changes in the second line. Till here also it's same. It had crinkly yellow pages where all the stories were printed on paper and words stood still. And the last line got changed in this answer. So these types of questions may be asked for 2 or 3 marks. So let's move on to the next question, which is quite important. So, why did Maggie find the book strange is our next question. Let's read it for the second time. Why did Maggie find the book strange? What book did she find strange? It was the book shown to her by Tommy. It was the book shown to her by Tommy. We have read it in the lesson. So Tommy shows which type of book? Tommy shows a type of book which was given by his grandfather's grandfather, as we have read in the previous question. And also the book which had real pages which we read now would almost be extant in the time of 2150s. It even can't be imaginable for us in this era. So in that era, they have telebooks. They are very rare to see at least a book which is made up of papers. So this is our discussion. So let's see the perfect answer. Okay, let's move to the answer now. So this is our answer. Okay. The book had yellow and crinkly pages. Yes, we have talked about it in the previous questions also, and I've said it to you right now. And the words were standing still, unlike moving on a screen. So, Tommy and Maggie were reading through telebooks. So we can scroll telebooks or ebooks up and down. So we can see that words are also moving on the screen. It's pretty simple. So let's move to the next sentence and understand it thoroughly. When they turned back on the pages read before, they were the same words on it. So now if you look at this line, it refers to the books that were present in the old. So the books which were most preferring or which we are reading mostly now. The books which had real pages and were crinkly. So they cannot be moved, as you all know, because they're pages. They're not electronic gadgets such as telebooks or ebooks to move words. The telebooks and ebooks have a screen which moves words when they read it for the first time. So Maggie and Tommy were feeling that the telebook had different types of words, means we can change the words and we can collect a lot number of books. But in the real existing books, the page containing books, there are only some particular words. how many ever times, or if you read it after centuries also, it will contain the same words and the same letters almost if you don't drop it in water or tear it. Okay. So it has the same words, but telebooks, it can be changing always. So then if we move to the next line, the last line of the answer, all these things were strange for Maggie. It's not only strange for Maggie, it's also for Tommy, because they hadn't seen it before. We have been discussing from the starting. Yeah. So it was completely astonishing or surprising that they were finding a real book. They felt very proud about it. So let's look at the next question. So this is our next question. Tommy thought that old books were funny and a big waste. Why? So this is also an easy question and it can be easily understood. We have also read about it. There was also almost a paragraph about it. So let's read it for one another time. Let's discuss about it. So the question is, Tommy thought that the old books were funny and a big waste. Why? So, what type of book is he talking about? Yeah, the books which is talking about by Tommy are the books which were present in the old time. So, he found it very funny because the books which they read have the words changing and they can collect almost up to millions of books. But a book which is made up of pages, it had the same words how many ever times you look at it and after even millions or centuries after it. So he found it really funny and big waste. So big waste was about that the books and the trees were being cut down to make the papers. So it can be only used for once. But if you look at telebooks, it has a pro that it's known as a good feature that it can contain up to so many books, millions of books, and it won't waste the natural resources much. Okay, so this was our discussion. So let's look at the answer now. So this is our answer. Tommy thought that old books were a waste because the words stood still and did not run. So as we have discussed it right now, the words did not stand still and he wanted them to run as if they had to go for Olympics and get a gold medal. So funny, right? And if you look at the second line, he also thought that they were a big waste. So why was they a big waste? Yeah, we have discussed this right before, because it's a waste of natural resources and so many papers are getting wasted and the book can be only used once and only once. And he is writing the reason also, so because they could not be reused like the screen of the mechanical teacher. So the teachers also of Maggie's and Tommy's time were the mechanical teachers, not the physical mind teachers. I hope that this question be understood by you easily, as it's very simple and straightforward. So let's move on to the next question. So this is our last question of 2 and 3 mark questions, and then we'll move to the 5 mark questions. So here the question is, why did Maggie hate school? Let's read it again. Why did Maggie hate school? So we have looked and we have read in the lesson that Maggie hated school. because the school which she went was this not a real school. So it was a virtual classroom to be precise. It had only a mechanical teacher who used to teach all the topics, and she would alone sit in a quiet room or place which was so boring for us to sit in a quiet place and listen to the mechanical teacher by ourselves. It's a terrifying job for all of you. So this is a quite general information that we know about it. So let's get into the deep aspects of it by looking at the answer. So let's see what's the answer for this. So the answer for this is Maggie hated school, which was a room in her house only because her teacher was a mechanical one. So we have already discussed it right now that Maggie's house was present in only one room of her house, and she was the only student present there with no one else. It is a terrifying night dream. So let's move on to the next sentence. It kept giving her test papers where answers had to be written as punch codes. Writing the homework is only a very bad job for us. But again, writing them in punch codes was a really freaking job. And the teacher was almost gone mad because it was giving a test after test, which made her even mad. And she hated it the most. The results were given instantly. So, if we write an exam, we'll come home and say our parents will be getting full marks. Okay, now we have studied the entire year, the exams are over, so let us enjoy. So we will be happy till at least our results will be out. But poor Maggie and Tommy, the instants were given instantly, so they had not even time for getting enjoyed. So she hated that more. So these were the questions of 2 and 3 marks. So now let's jump to the 5 marks question. So this is a 5-mark question. It's pretty different from the questions we read till now. So this is the question. How was Maggie's school different from the schools that existed hundreds of years ago? So in the before questions, we read how the books were different and how the teachers were different. So in this question, we are asked about how the schools were different. So the second time we'll read it. How was Maggie's school different from schools that existed hundreds of years ago? So, our discussion time. And we have read in the lesson that Maggie was having not a physical school or the school which we go right now, that is in a building where the teacher will come and all the students should go and all are taught at the same place and we have all types of fun stuff. But here if we look at poor Maggie and Tommy in the chapter, they have to sit alone in a room for getting the classes done. It's nothing but the worst virtual classroom. Who would like it? Now it would seem pretty interesting for you without going to school. But if you have the virtual classroom for a set of at least 1 month, you would know the difficulty it would have. So Maggie didn't like such type of schools. When she read the book which Tommy found in his house, she thought that the schools which are present in the olden days, means which the schools which we are having right now, were better. Because all the students would come at a place, it had a good building and the man would teach, but they had a mechanical teacher. So let's have a look at the perfect answer here. Maggie's school was at home. This is the first and foremost important point. Yeah, we know that Maggie's school was at her own home. She had a mechanical teacher. Yes, we know that she had a mechanical teacher. This is another important point. Telebooks, yes, we know about it. Telebooks or ebooks which had moving screens. Yeah, we read about it before. No other students were in the class and work was fed in by mechanical teacher by punch codes. This is not at all an interesting part for Maggie to give the punch codes for the homework. And she was all alone in her own room. And the mechanical teacher used to teach her. We have known about it in the chapter. So let's move forward and look up at the next part of it. Whereas the old schools had proper buildings, many students, human teachers who gave homework and asked questions. So, in the type of schools which we have now and for them in the past, the old schools had proper buildings, many students, human teachers who gave homework and asked questions. So this seemed very good and so interesting for Maggie because she didn't have such type of schools in that time. Everyone learned the same things and the books were written on paper. So it is clearly visible that Maggie's school was totally different from the schools that existed hundreds of years ago. So this is the complete answer and it's the end of today's chapter. I am 100% sure that you are bored now, aren't you? So I'm not forcing you to watch the entire video in a single stretch. It might be tiring for you and you might not understand it pretty well. So I advise you to watch the video in bits when you are free. Now I want to know, what do you prefer? Do you prefer online learning or classroom learning? Honestly, I'm saying I love classroom learning. So just type OL in your comment box if you want online learning. Just click CL in the comment box if you prefer classroom learning. So I want to get the responses very soon. I will be waiting for your responses. So subscribe, like and share to my channel with Jar of Talents. Meet you again. Thank you.